Good morning, everybody who's joining us. This is Jason Mackey. On our call here, we have Frank O'Brien with Wespath, and one of you out there is Todd. I know everybody's currently muted, but I think, there is Todd there.
Howdy.
Hey!
There's Todd. All right.
So we have Frank and Todd who are going to be leading us through our conversation. We still got, let's give them another minute or two. We had 18 people signed up for this call. And right now we've got 9 of us. So we're halfway there. Personally, my family and I, we just drove to Southern Maryland. My wife's birthday is tomorrow, and this is where her family's from. So
Excellent. So what will the birthday dinner look like?
crabs, Maryland blue crabs.
Ah, there you go.
Right?
The whole crab, right? Deep fried? Or
No, those are soft shells.
okay.
Blue crabs are a hard shell. We boil them up, lots of Old Bay, and then you sit and you pick one crab for like an hour just to get a mouthful of meat. But it's a Maryland thing.
Hey, that sounds great to me. I for a while when I was younger, way younger, we lived in Southern California, and we would go out and see this woman that we affectionately called the Crab Lady. And it wasn't because of her attitude, it was because her husband was a crab fisherman. So he was on the boat all day, and she was at the crab shack. And
Okay.
we would go grab some live crab and then go back home and cook it up
Nice.
and pick through, a Dungeness crab body.
And this is Southern Cal?
Yeah.
Cool. Now, does a crab shack stink? I imagine it has a really fishy, nasty smell.
It smelled like boiled crab.
Oh,
I still remember that to this day. And then I met a gentleman up in Seattle. My wife and I lived in Seattle for a couple of years when we first got married. And a buddy of mine and I were working on this research project, and we were talking about our college diets. And I'm like, oh, it took me a while to be able to go back and eat top ramen again. And he's like, oh, ramen? He goes, I can't eat Dungeness crab to this day. And I'm like, excuse me? That was your staple in college? Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, the story goes, he went to Western Washington, so it's Bellingham. So it's right on the water. And what they would do is go buy a crab pot, and a crab pot license was $6 at the time. So he'd throw some bait in, throw it in the water, and he'd catch crab. And he had done that his whole college career, so he had 6 years worth of nothing but unfortunately Dungeness crab. So
That's cheap eating, but it sounds wonderful. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think I could get sick of crab.
Well, we've picked up a total of 13 of us, so there might be a couple more that are going to trickle in, but it's a couple minutes after, so I would like to get us started to honor everybody's time here. For all of you pastors who are on our call this morning, thank you for joining us. My name is Jason Mackey. Many of us have talked over the phone this spring through the appointment process. We've talked about your health benefits and your retirement benefits and trying to make those selections. And all of these things are overseen by a wonderful team. Our General Board of Pensions and Health Benefits is known as Wespath. And Wespath is a wonderful company that I have had the privilege to work with for about a dozen years now as a member of the board. And they have $51 billion under management, both in retirement and investment assets. And they care for our retirement benefits as clergy. And we are also a member conference of what is known as Health Flex, which is a unique health insurance program that Wespath has designed for annual conferences to provide insurance options for our clergy. So today we have 2 wonderful men, Frank O'Brien, who is very near us on Long Island.
Long Island, yep.
One of the great benefits educators at Wespath. And then Todd Creviston. Todd is a wonderful guy I've gotten to meet several times, a power lifter. How's your front squat coming, Todd? You getting closer?
My shoulders hurt when I front squat. Well, at least that's my excuse.
We were front squatting this morning, and I was thinking of you.
That's awesome. I admire people who can front squat.
So Todd is one of the benefits educators, especially strong in the Virgin Pulse program, which I'm sure he will touch on this morning. So first up, we're going to start with the retirement benefits. And then for those of you clergy who only have retirement, you're not full-time, you don't have the health coverage, feel free to drop off the call when that portion of the program is done. And then we'll go into the healthcare on the back half. And at any time, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat feature. You can raise your hand. I'll try to keep my eyes open on all of that, and we can go from there. Any questions before we get started here? I'm seeing some heads nodding. That sounds great to me. Todd and Frank, I am going to turn it over to you guys.
Okay, again, Frank O'Brien from Long Island. I am a benefit educator with Wespath. I got started September 30th of last year. And obviously it's been a very interesting run since then with all that we have gone through. I'm going to begin the day by about a 25-minute presentation on the retirement plans, and then hand it over to Todd, who will do some demos on our benefit access and our WebMD websites to get you somewhat comfortable with the navigation and the look and feel of those platforms. For sake of ease to myself, and I think even others, I'm going to come off camera and then just kind of go through the deck and all. I want to make sure you can still hear me, of course. And as Jason said, any questions you have, you can throw into the chat box. If there is a down moment during the presentation, we can stick a question in, that's perfectly fine. But we'll certainly honor any questions you have, at the end of that. So what I'm going to do now is come off camera and then ask, can you still see the deck, Todd or Jason?
Yep, it's up and looking good.
And you can hear me. Okay, great. So we're going to talk about the Clergy Retirement Security Program, and there are times you're going to hear that referred to as CRSP or simply CRSP. So there's some back and forth in terms of what we will be talking about here. Here we go. The CRSP is a unique plan in that it is a hybrid plan. Really, I've been in retirement for 30 years. It's the first time I've ever seen this type of arrangement. There is a defined benefit provided as well as a defined contribution or account balance piece or plan as well. As you will see, the defined benefit is a formula. It's math. It's set in place and has no market risk attached. Now, as we go through this, and I know this audience is somewhat new to UMC or clergy, there are two time frames that I'm going to review within the context of the CRSP, because there's a minor variation in that formula. There's a 2007 to 2013 bucket, and then a 2014 to present time frame. The defined contribution is employer dollars contributed for you to use in retirement. As you will see, the DC piece is invested in Wespath funds, and so does carry market risk. Now, just to review with you a couple of items going into the discussion, the first will be retirement, and I know that's down the road, but retirement as expressed in the Book of Discipline, and then a concept called a denominational average compensation. So first is how retirement is understood in the Book of Discipline and reflected in our retirement plans. I will point out the word "or" in the first two areas or bullets. So normal retirement is age 65 or 40 years of service. So if you're 62 and you've hit 40 years of service, normal retirement. Early retirement is age 62 or 30 years of service. In the Book of Discipline, there is a mandatory retirement age of 72. So the way you can look at this now is normal retirement, you have your full benefit. Early retirement carries with it a reduction of 0.05% per month in benefit or 6% a year. And if anyone who has 20 years of time with UMC and then decides to retire, the thing to note here is that benefits do not become available until age 62. So I know retirement is probably somewhat premature, but this is how this is baked into the plans through the Book of Discipline. The other is a formula, in this formula that we're going to talk about, is the Denominational Average Compensation, or DAC. We love our acronyms, right? DAC. The DAC is the average plan compensation for full-time clergy across the nation divided by the number of clergy persons across the nation. So the numerator is all those dollars, denominator is number of full-time clergy persons. In 2020, the DAC is $72,648. We know the amount there expressed for 2021. The DAC is one of the elements that's in the formula that calculates this defined benefit. The others are your years of service in the plan in these timeframes, as well as a retirement factor. So I'm going to walk through the different calculations, or the two different calculations, and then sum them up for you. What we are using for today's purposes is what we use for the retirement webinar for the class of 2020's retirement. So here you would see in that first time frame I mentioned, from 2007 to 2013, that would be 7 years of service. We have that DAC that we talked about of $72,000 plus. And for this time period, the pension factor or retirement factor was 1.25%. We do the math, we come up with 63.57, we divide by 12. For this time period, a benefit of $530 is calculated. And we move that to the side. Then we look at the current time frame. So for you, it's January 1, 2014 to the present, but for modeling purposes, June 30th, 2020. In here, the years of service is 6.5. General Conference of 2012 changed the pension factor to 1% from 1.25%. So you'll see that change there of 1%. And the $72,000 DAC. We do the math, you get a total, divide by 12. $394 of monthly income is calculated in this model for this time period for you. Now, in taking the two calculated numbers and adding them together, we see an initial total monthly income amount of $924. Now, why did I use the word initial? Because once this amount is calculated, you then will have choices as to the type of annuity you want to get from these dollars, and your annual cost of living adjustment that is available to you in the program for a year-over-year adjustment in that monthly income. At that time, you'll decide you want a single life annuity or a joint survivor or spousal annuity, and then a COLA percentage, 2% up to 5%. And then, as I said earlier, for those who may end up in an early retirement situation down the road, there may be some reductions in the amount that gets calculated for you. So that is the math and just the formulas as to how we deal with that. But before moving on to the defined contribution part of the plan, I want to pause and remind everyone that the DB calculation just reviewed is a formula that will not change over time. Now, it is true that Wespath has proposed, and will be considered at the next general conference, that a new plan be established known as Compass. Originally set to begin in January of 2023, the start date right now is unknown, but we are hoping for 2024. The new plan will be strictly a defined contribution plan funded by participant and employer contributions. But please note, the benefits you accrue up until the new plan becomes active, you will keep. So for example, if we start the Compass plan as of 1/1/24, the calculated amount of benefit up to 12/31/2023 will be your CRSP benefit in retirement. Your years of service, if you've been in the whole time for CRSP, can be up to 17 years, 10 years in that second bucket. The denominational average compensation as of December 31st, 2023, and then that appropriate retirement factor. All of that you retain. It's known technically as a protected benefit and will be yours. So as we transition to a new environment, what you have, you will retain. That's it. Now we will shift our attention to the defined contribution feature of the plan. The CRSP defined contribution is an account plan. Currently, the account is being funded through the 2% non-matching employer contributions deposited into an account in your name. And if you contribute up to 1% to the United Methodist Personal Investment Plan, also known as UMPIP, you are receiving an additional 1% matching contribution up to that first 1% of your UMPIP contributions. So giving you an overall 3% employer contribution going into your account. So you can see the 2% and the 1% on the left-hand side going into the CRSP DC. I'll spend a moment on the right-hand side of this slide talking about the UMPIP. And what you can see there is you have several opportunities or options as to what type of account you may want to contribute in UMPIP. There is a before tax account where you avoid taxes now and you pay taxes later in retirement, deferring contribution, deferring income or earnings. There's a Roth contribution account you can contribute to where you avoid taxes later. If this account is structured correctly, which generally just means you're over age 59 and a half and that very first Roth contribution went in over 5 years ago, your income in retirement is tax-free. Now, there is an after-tax contribution bucket as well in the plan, and that is really for individuals who have the opportunity to max out the defined contribution amount or the limit for a particular calendar year. If they're so able to do so and they still want to put money into the plan, they can use the after-tax account. What's not here on the slide but available in the UMPIP is where you can deposit rollover contributions from other qualified retirement plans. So if you have prior employment, wherever that may be, 403B plans, 401k plans, even governmental 457 plans, you want to consolidate your accounts, you can do that under the UMPIP. And a few final thoughts on the 1% contribution to UMPIP. We at Wespath always encourage our participants to contribute as much as they can. Within the context of the upcoming Compass plan, there will be a matching contribution on the first 4% of your contributions. So right now it's 1-to-1. Down the road, whenever that happens, it'll be 4-to-4. If you are there already contributing 4% or higher, great, and we always encourage more. If not, you try to get yourself to that level sooner rather than later to begin to benefit from that full 4% matching contribution coming in a few years down the road. So the CRSP DC account balance, it's composed of your plan sponsor contributions. It's invested as directed by you, the participant. We'll talk about that momentarily. And as we can see by the illustration, it's intended to grow. And then when you have that bucket or jar of money at the end of the day for retirement, you'll have several distribution options in retirement. Once you attain retirement down the road, your CRSP DB account, which again, your protected benefit, will be a monthly benefit provided to you or to you and your spouse for your lifetimes. And there will be an option for an annual cost of living adjustment that you will elect. There's a minimum of 2% that goes up to 5% per year. And certainly down the road, you will get plenty of opportunities for education on our part provided to you. In the context of the CRSP defined contribution plan and distributions, well, upon retirement, you will have several options available to you. At Wespath, we have LifeStage retirement income, which generates monthly income for you. We do a calculation for you. You can develop your own installment plan. You can take out withdrawals as you need. You can leave it all for a beneficiary, whatever you choose. If, while in service or you terminate from service from the United Methodist Church, that account becomes available for you. It's portable. You can roll it out if you want. You can keep it with us to manage if you so choose. If you end up in a situation of long-term disability, we do have a disability withdrawal option in CRSP DC where you can take withdrawals from that account to help satisfy your financial needs while you're dealing with that disability. And whatever balance you have remaining upon your death will be paid to your beneficiaries. And hopefully, as you're getting more and more accustomed to this, you have your beneficiaries up to date and current as you go along. So there is, as through this discussion, the CRSP employer contributions, and hopefully you're getting that 3%. You're contributing UMPIP contributions to the amount that you're able to. And in the future will be Compass contributions. These contribution accounts are invested within the Wespath family of investment funds. Benefits of investing with Wespath. Well, there are several benefits. First, as we invest on your behalf, we practice sustainable investing. There are two things to think about when it comes to sustainability. One is the long haul. We've proven we can do that. We've been doing it for well over 100 years. We're doing it today, and we have every intention of doing it into the future. But it also means that we are a socially responsible investor. We invest in accordance with the social principles of the United Methodist Church. We invest in companies and countries that are environmentally and socially responsible and have strong internal governance practices. So the investments not only hold up over time, but uphold the values of the UMC. They are diversified funds. We have capital preservation funds that provide safety. We have bond funds that provide income. We have equity or stock funds that provide higher levels of risk with higher levels of potential rates of return. They have low and competitive expenses. There are no sales charges or advertising fees, and there are no commissions attached to any of these funds. And with over $20 billion in assets under management, we have economy of scale, which means you get to keep more and make more over time. And I'll talk about LifeStage investment management in a few moments. So we have the various investment funds, and they are categorized. So we have capital preservation, income funds, equity funds, balance funds. The capital preservation fund is our stable value fund, and it is intended to do as the words say, preserve the capital, preserve the dollars in the fund. It is a low interest bearing account, but again, is intended to keep those dollars at as much of a risk-free exposure as possible. The next funds are bond funds or income funds, and we have three. The first is the Inflation Protection Fund. This fund is designed to purchase or hold bonds that will keep pace with the rate of inflation in the economy, plus a little bit more. We want to get a little bit more purchasing power out of it, but it's really just designed to kind of maintain trending with the overall economy. Our fixed income fund is a large fund and has a broad range of fixed income type of investments built into it. So it's got bonds, it's got short-term, midterm, long-term bonds. It's got government bonds, it's got foreign sovereign bonds, and it has corporate bonds as well as foreign corporate bonds. So it's a wide range that gives our investment managers the maximum flexibility to try to generate as much income as possible, depending upon where the domestic and international economy is. The last is the extended term fixed income fund here. This extended term means longer dated bonds, so 15 to 30 year bonds. And the longer the bond is, or the age of that bond, the higher the interest rate, the greater the risk. So this fund has a little more risk attached to it, but is designed to get that higher rate of interest built into it over time. Here, I'll direct your attention to the equity funds. The bottom US equity fund is what it says. We go into company stocks that are domestic US company stocks. We go into mid, small, large cap stocks, certainly names that we're familiar with, such as Apple and Google, companies like that, Verizon. Then there's an international equity fund. It's company stocks, but not US, domestic, international funds, such as Siemens in Germany and was it Alphabet over in China, and those types of funds are built in, or companies are built into that fund. Going back to the top, you have a balanced fund. And again, the words tell us what it is. It is an allocation fund that is balanced between stocks and bonds. And we use the funds I just reviewed to build that allocation. So we use US equity and international equity combined to get 65% of equity in that fund. And then we have the two fixed income funds that give us 35%. So the balanced fund as an allocation that's built for you in advance is 65% on the equity side and 35% on the income side. And that would be considered to be somewhat of a moderate investment option. Lastly, we have a suite of choice funds. These are funds that are built similar to the ones I just reviewed in terms of bond funds and equity funds. However, these are funds that have an enhanced focus on our sustainability goals within the investment funds, environmental and social performance. These types of government securities, corporate securities, are really generated from actions of various annual conferences or other entities within the UMC that really want to focus in on that sustainability and that ESG aspect of what we do at Wespath. Now we have the LifeStage investment management feature. And what this is a personalized investment management tool for the defined contribution accounts. Together, we generate a personal profile for you looking at several variables, such as date of birth, risk tolerance for investing, are you conservative, moderate, or aggressive, Social Security income down the line, when are we figuring your benefit commencement date's going to be based on that book of discipline criteria I just reviewed earlier. Once we set up an allocation for you and we tailor it to you according to this profile, that account gets set on autopilot. And over time, as you begin to near your benefit commencement date or retirement, the allocation gets modified, slowly reducing the amount of equity exposure you have, increasing the amount of fixed income in the allocation. So here we're looking at you as an individual, we get information from you, and then we look at other aspects of demographically of you. We set up an allocation. But then over the long haul, as you're getting closer and closer to retirement, we shift automatically through this autopilot feature, the amount of exposure to stocks and equities, and the more income you're going to get from the bond side as we are preparing you to start generating retirement income down the road. This is a long time type of thing. It's a time horizon type of thing. But we also have another feature, which is regular rebalancing. During the course of normal events throughout the year, it's normal for your investments to grow or drift, with one area outperforming another area. So you could have the equity markets are up very strong while the income markets are down, or vice versa. Periodically throughout the year, LifeStage will look at where you are in terms of your investments and your percentages, and then rebalance the allocation so we match back up again or in alignment with your risk profile and your targeted investment allocation. And one of the benefits of this periodic rebalancing, whether it's a consequence or an intended consequence, is that you end up selling high and buying low. So again, you have equity is on the high side, income's on the low side. We're slicing off the equity on the high side and we're buying low on the income side. So that's built into the program, which is a very strong feature for long-term investing. Now, we're giving you a lot of information right now about the plans, about the funds, integrating UMPIP, and you certainly may have a lot of other questions today and down the road. Wespath has a tremendous amount of resources for you. It's not here on this slide, but we have wespath.org where you can go on and get all kinds of information around the retirement plans, around retirement planning, financial planning, and of course our investment funds. But we also partner with EY and provide EY financial planning services for you as participants. They provide comprehensive household financial planning. Think of them as your strategic financial partner. They provide confidential, professional financial counseling at no additional cost. It gets paid for through the operating expenses of the investment funds. So I'm not allowed to say it's free, but it's kind of free because there's no out-of-pocket expenses to you. It's unlimited in terms of the number of hours and days that you use as you work with a financial advisor over there. It is by telephone. And they provide objective advice. There is no sales pitch. They will look and review what you have, but they will not make recommendations of any other types of financial products that are out there. Will not do that. They are a resource that can help you think through your current household situation, your near-term, mid-term, and long-term financial goals, and how to prepare for those. And they can certainly help you in these uncertain times. So that concludes the, if I could get myself back on camera. That concludes the, here we go. Sorry about that. Am I back on camera?
Yep.
Okay. So that gets me here. Okay, there I am. I see myself. Has any questions come in the chat box or anybody has any questions right now, please feel free to ask them.
Frank, I haven't seen any questions come up yet, but as you were going through the defined benefit, the pension portion of our retirement, that number won't actually be calculated until we retire, right? It'll be based on the DAC at the time of retirement?
Yes. Yes. So it's just going to hold steady and wait, if you will.
And you had mentioned something about reducing the benefit if we draw before 65. But even if we retire before 65, we can still draw a full benefit as long as we don't draw until 65. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, you can delay your election until such time that you satisfy the age 65 of the normal retirement criteria in the Book of Discipline.
Wonderful. Do we have access to the sample login for benefits access?
I'm not quite sure about that, Todd. Do you know if that's something that we share?
We can't share that because in order for you to get in the demo account, you have to be behind our firewall,
Oh, there you go.
either through VPN or a Wespath employee. However, what I'm going to show you today looks just like your account. And to be totally honest, I'm still kind of working my way through. I get in every couple of days and kind of poke around in benefits access because benefits access changed. The look and feel of benefits access changed pretty dramatically this coming June or this past June. And in addition to that, it's now two-factor authentication. So when you log in, it'll say, oh, okay, where would you like to receive this PIN number for? And it's either a voice or a text. So it's definitely gone through some enhancements, and I can show you what that looks like.
That'll be great, thanks. I know a number of clergy have called me through the years and, hey, it's so frustrating that we have two-step authentication. But I do also remember an instance of a clergy person, someone had called Wespath impersonating this person and tried to make a withdrawal of more than $100,000 from their account, and Wespath shut it down right away because of their security protocols. So
yes,
kudos.
And to add to that, the rollout of the new BA look and feel at the time that people were retiring, created a little angst within the organization. Do we wait until after the retirement period or before? And what our technology people were telling the senior management was, in this time of COVID, a lot of people had a lot of free time on their hands, and they were doing a lot of bad stuff, trying to get into other people's accounts and all of that. So that's why they decided to roll it out just a month before retirement.
Yes, and the process to set your account up. So if there are folks on the line today that haven't created their benefit access account, that process is a lot easier than it used to be. So I've been with Wespath for 8.5 years now. My desk, my cube is on the 3rd floor. And when they used to mail you, US mail, a PIN number that you had to enter to set up your benefits access account. So here's me, a Wespath employee, and I'm like, okay, so, all right, benefits access, it's time to learn this. I sit down, and this is probably June, July timeframe, so I'm a little behind, but I knew my contributions were going in and everything was good, and my PIN number, where do I get that PIN number? So I had to kind of walk through this whole process as a participant, and I finally figured out, call customer service, they need to generate a new PIN. That sounds easy. I called them. Hey, I'm just on the 3rd floor. Can I run down and get my PIN? Oh, no, we have to mail it. Can we save the 40 cents? I'll just run down and get it. No, we have to mail it. And I'm like, oh, goodness. Now I have to write a note to remember to look in the mail to make sure that I can track down the PIN. That process is now gone. It's that two-factor authentication. You can go today and set up your account. That PIN is actually generated as part of that two-factor authentication. I do recommend that if you haven't set it up yet, set aside 10 to 15 minutes to do so, just so you're not rushed. If you have to be somewhere in a half an hour, maybe do it when you come back, because it would be a good idea to document your security questions, your password, your login. That password and login, it's recommended that they're different from any other password or login that you've used before to make it secure. Gone are the days of being able to use Todd1 and then password1 as my password. So it needs to be more complicated than that. Although I'm sure I have one or two out there that are like that still. Frank, could you share? Could you give me permission to share?
I've stopped sharing.
Now you should be good, Todd.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. All right, I'm going to minimize that. Okay. So this is the beginning point for both of the demos that I'm going to show you today. The retirement benefits is the benefits access account that you'll actually create. And you just click on that. You can, from wespath.org, or you could just save benefitsaccess.org, this website up here, and then just save that as your favorites. You'd enter your username and password for those folks who've created it before. When you click the secure logon, you'll actually go to a page where it'll say there's typically 2 phone numbers. Those are the phone numbers that are listed in Benefits Access. And it'll say, would you like the password or the PIN number sent to which of those 2 numbers? New user registration is what I was alluding to earlier. If you see up here that it's actually 3 steps, and this is the first of those 3 steps. So everything with an asterisk needs to have information entered, and then click the continue button. Part of that new user registration process is setting up your username, your password, all of your security questions, as well as a couple of other steps. So it would be good to have some time set aside, 10 to 15 minutes, that you can get that taken care of. So for folks who have already logged in, so if you created a Benefits Access account or registered your Benefits Access account, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, what have you, that account will now look different. Perfect. So now that account is has been updated. The look and feel is different, and it's more user friendly. And frankly, I love this homepage. If I needed to find an answer, let's say a participant asked a question, I'm like, oh, I'll just go look in my account. There used to be a little link that said, check the balance of your account. And I would always go click that link first and say, okay, what's my balance? And I would check, and then I would get on to business and then go find that, go find the answer to that participant question. So I love the fact that it opens up as the summary. This is a demo account, so it's not entirely functional, but your account is, and I'll show you exactly where you can go to look at all of these exciting areas. So I selected a clergy person who is relatively young, 35 years of age. I think that's young. You'll see here that their plan balances. There's a defined contribution account. That's the CRSP DC that Frank was talking about. And then below that is the United Methodist Personal Investment Plan, also known as UMPIP. You'll see that there's a balance associated with each of those accounts, and then a total vested balance. To the right is a pie chart, and each of these colors represents a portion of that total vested balance, in this case just a little over 39,000, and it's spread across the equity funds, both US and international, fixed income, and then extended term fixed income for the bond funds. And then as you scroll down to the bottom, so these are the account balances. If we have clergy with us today who have been, who's had service prior to 2007, you'll also see an MPP balance. MPP is the Ministerial Pension Plan. It preceded the CRSP plan. MPP is also an account balance, and that will be shown here. MPP is handled differently at retirement. If you have any of those questions, I can chat with you about those a little bit later. And then as we scroll down the summary page, you'll see that monthly defined benefits. So this is the defined benefit for CRSP. Looks like there's a little bit of, there's 2.75 years of service in the first service period of CRSP, and then about 5.5. So this will go from 2013 through present month to calculate that service. So you'll be able to log into your benefits access account and get an idea of what your CRSP defined benefit looks like any given month. And then each of these titles has information. Some of the information you can find in multiple titles, which is good. I like the redundancy, so you don't always have to find the exact spot. There's a couple ways to get there. With the Help tab, I wanted to call out, first and foremost, Wespath, Benefits and Investment. The is right there. That's our customer service. They can help you with that. It's 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, Central Time. You can also email them. For me, I think I'm a little old school. If I have a problem, I always like to try to talk to somebody. So I always make that call first. EY, Financial Planning Services, their phone number is right there. I think the only sales pitch that you'll get from EY is from Frank and I encouraging you to use it. I actually used it in January, February because my wife and I were trying to figure out if we should buy a car or lease a car. And we actually had multiple conversations with a financial planner around that, doing some calculations. My wife and I typically keep our cars a long time, so we decided to buy. But no question is too small or big for EY. HealthFlex WebMD, we'll talk a little bit about this later. Rather than logging into Benefits Access and then clicking this link to log into HealthFlex WebMD, I would encourage you just to go to wespath.org, click on that, then I'll show you in a little bit. Life Options, and then Virgin Pulse, one of my favorite programs there as well. So that's just under the help section, under contacts. A lot of different forms that you can pull from. If you wanted to, I think there's a, so I just clicked on help. I'm happy that this is actually loaded. So help, forms, UMPIP, and the contribution election form is what you'd use to change the amount of your contribution. Incoming rollover form, if you have an existing qualified pension plan or retirement plan from a prior employer, you can roll that over into your UMPIP. I did that 2 summers ago and it was seamless. Now I only have 1 quarterly statement to look at as opposed to 2. So a lot of different information listed there.
And I just want to interject, all of those forms have the return address at the bottom, which is wonderful, but please mail them to our conference office because we're kind of unique as far as conferences. We direct bill your local churches. So it's very important that I see those forms so that I can update. It just saves a big headache in my office.
So I just clicked the Wespath logo up here, and that will always bring you back to your home page, back to that summary page. Under accounts, you'll be able to see your transaction history, and then you can even download that transaction history. So let's take a look at that real quick. So this clergy person is 35 years old. They have CRSP, and they have UMPIP. But yet we also see an MPP balance here too. So that's probably just a standard demo contribution that we load. If this person had MPP, we'd also see that on the summary page. So nice sizable account. You'll see that each balance is based on the type of plan that they have with a running total for the year at the bottom. And then you'll also see transaction details. So plan sponsor non-matching for CRSP DC was 187. We can go back up top, CRSP DC, plan sponsor non-matching, 187, that matches. UMPIP before tax, that's a participant contribution, that's 567, and that's listed here under UMPIP totals to the right and then down for a total value of the account at that time. These details are also included on your quarterly statement, and all of the quarterly statements that you have are actually posted here. And I have to say that I found that quite remarkable when I found that section on my BA account. Having started in 2012, all of my quarterly statements, I could see quarterly statements all the way back to the beginning. And then there's the quarterly statement. So if you wanted to take a look at that. I personally like paper. I know that's probably not the best thing to say, but I like getting a quarterly statement in the mail. I like looking at it. I like filing it away. You can also opt into receiving an email letting you know that those statements had been posted to your account. So it's electronic delivery. Basically, it's an electronic notification that says your account statement's ready. Go ahead and log into Benefits Access, and you'll be able to locate them there. The investment summary just provides a little bit more of a breakdown on the pie chart that we saw. Here's the 4 funds that this individual is invested in: CRSP, UMPIP, for a total of $39,640. The CRSP DC account, it's you can opt into LifeStage Investment Management, managing that, and you can opt into LifeStage managing your UMPIP. And you'll see here that this clergy person has done that. They've opted into the defined contribution account is invested by LifeStage. And here is a summary of that. If you're not sure if LifeStage is managing your DC accounts, your UMPIP and your CRSP DC, you can always go to Accounts and then click on LifeStage Investment Options, and it'll bring you to the summary page for LifeStage Investment Management. Again, you get the pie chart, and then here's the investment profile that Frank talked about. So the DC account is managed by LifeStage, has the date of birth, risk tolerance, and then eligible for Social Security. If you'd like to change your risk tolerance or your investment profile, you can click on that link. Let me check to see if that is, yep, okay. So you can opt in or out of that at any time. LifeStage Investment Management, managing your accounts. Your risk tolerance can be changed at any time, from conservative to moderate to aggressive. And then eligibility for Social Security. There was a period of time where it seemed as though a lot of clergy had opted out of paying into Social Security. So that's why that's an option. I hear mostly from clergy that they are continuing to pay, or they are paying into Social Security so that they would be eligible for Social Security. And then from there you'd click, if you make a change here, I'm not sure. Okay. So the next step out of the 3 to do this would be just to verify those changes. You can actually run a benefits projection, which will give you an idea of what your retirement income would be in retirement when you reach retirement age. You can actually change your retirement date as well, whether it's 65, 60, 62, 72, and all of those would run a different amount. The retirement readiness is an interesting tool. It won't actually work in the demo. But what this is designed to do, it's designed to calculate what your retirement income would be, what your expenses would be around housing, healthcare, and a couple other variables to identify any potential gap. And then there's a couple ways that you can potentially reduce that gap in income. So your expenses are $10,000, your retirement income is estimated to be $8,000, so there's a $2,000 a month gap. What are the ways that you can decrease that gap? Well, one would be to potentially work longer. The second would be to save more. A third one would be to maybe change your investment profile from conservative to moderate. So it'll give you an idea of what you can do in the future. I would say that might be helpful to run that, and particularly run it when for the younger clergy, actually for anyone really, but I would say the earlier you run it, the better understanding you'll have of what you'll need 10, 20, 30 years down the road. And then tax forms are noticed are placed here as well. Distributions, this would be in retirement or getting ready for retirement. So all clergy now use benefits access to select their retirement benefits. So you'll have an opportunity to choose the type of annuity that you would like for your CRSP DB account. And then you can also select LifeStage retirement income, which that calculates a monthly payment from your defined contribution account. And as part of that retirement process, you have the opportunity to consolidate your CRSP defined contribution account along into your UMPIP account, and it'll calculate a payment from there. Under Learn, this is another way to get to the retirement benefits projection, retirement readiness. That LifeStage retirement income calculator you can use as well, and you can actually enter in a lump sum of what you think your your UMPIP account balance would be at the time of retirement, and it will actually calculate a monthly payment for you. And then under Profile, so this is where you can change your user preferences. You could change your username, your password. You could manage your delivery options. That means, would you like your quarterly statement delivered via mail, US mail, or would you like it electronic delivery? EY authorization. So Frank talked a lot about EY and all the great things that they do. One of the things that you can do to help EY understand what your portfolio looks like that you have with Wespath is to allow them to view your account balances and your account allocation electronically. They can't make any updates for you. They can't transfer money in or out, and they can't make any selections for you, but what they can see is the funds that you're invested in, the account balance, and then the entire number of retirement plans that you have available, whether it's MPP, UMPIP, CRSP, and that way they can help to make that financial plan for you. So that was just under Profile. And then an important area is beneficiaries. So for our new, for anyone who needs to register in benefits access, that will be a step that you'll need to do and sit down and determine who your beneficiaries are. For married clergy, primary beneficiary is spouse. Secondary beneficiary would be children. So this clergy person is married to Janice, and then shows her information down below, but then also shows that 100% of your account balances would be going to that your spouse. And then secondary would be just added down here. So for me, this would be my wife, and then 100% for my UMPIP and our PGA. And then secondary, I have 3 kids, so my boys are 33% each, and then my daughter would be listed as 34% to cover the entire 100% of my balance. Does anybody have any questions at this point? And then you'd click Manage Beneficiaries to change or add. Great time to add would be birth of a child, adoption of a child, marriage, and other life events. You can also edit their personal information. So kids that are secondary beneficiaries, they tend to move. You can always update that information here. And it's also important to understand that the beneficiaries that are designated in your benefits access account supersede your will. So if you update your will and it's Bobby, Susie, Betty, but as your beneficiaries in your will, but that doesn't match your will, your beneficiary designations in benefits access, you'll need to update that. Let's see, I'm going to click the Wespath logo again, come back to the home page. And then there's a tremendous amount of information on here. Some of the things that Frank talked about, what is normal retirement? It might be good to have that reminder. I'm not sure if we have anybody on the phone that has service pre-82. That information is there. A couple questions common questions about the CRSP DB and the service. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask and call our Wespath customer service department. They can take care of just about everything, all your questions for you. Does anybody have any questions? I haven't been on mute the whole time, have I? No? Good. Okay, should we switch over to?
Yeah, let's switch gears. So for those of you who only have retirement, this is your out. But for those of you who have the health insurance, which as I'm looking through the names is most of you, we're going to go ahead and slide over to the HealthFlex WebMD portal, which is where you would access your health insurance and the many, many benefits that are there.
So the beginning point is wespath.org, and you could click HealthFlex Wellness Benefits. First time registers, I would suggest that, again, you set aside that 10 to 15 minutes so that you can make sure that you've got your username, password. Again, those should be different from any other account that you're using. WebMD will actually email you periodically to say, hey, you haven't changed your email in a while. Or I'm sorry, you haven't changed your password in a while. What do you think? Do you want to change your password? That's not a bad idea to keep up with that. So the registration process is fairly straightforward. It is multi-step, and you will be selecting your security your security phrases and username, password, and all that. So for me, I'm going to show you my wife's account. I'm kidding. I'm going to show you my account. Let's see.
I love how practically everybody across the country knows what's going on with your health, Todd.
It's about time. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, there's a lot here, and I could spend far more time than even my family members would be willing to listen to me talk about what's available in here. But just like the benefits access account, if you give it a couple minutes a day, a couple minutes a week, you'll get familiar with it and you'll know exactly where to go. You'll notice that a lot of our communications that are directed toward doing something, like completing HQ, completing Blueprint for Wellness, or enrolling in Virgin Pulse, pretty much all say log into your HealthFlex WebMD account and then go to the gray bar. So these are the really big ticket items. So right now we're in a push to complete HQ, Health Quotient, that's that online questionnaire, and complete your Blueprint for Wellness screening. The Blueprint for Wellness screening registration is located here. So you'd click that. The first time that you go into your account each year, it's going to ask you to verify your information is correct, ask you to enter a phone number, and then an email address. And the reason why it asks for the email address and the phone number is you'll get a notification when your results are have reported out. And then you can go in and take a look. So let's say you register for your appointment. 2 to 3 days later, after your appointment, you'll receive that email to say your results are available. You can look in your Quest account or wait until the next day and go in and look in your WebMD account. So those results are in 2 spots. So I've already verified my information this year. I haven't completed my screening yet. I like to wait until the end to make sure that all of the communications that we send out are going out appropriately. And you'll notice that there's a little pop-up related to COVID-19, going to a patient service center. We're sending out a video that's going to talk about a couple of our participants. One is Frank, his experience in going to a local patient service center. So then all you need to do, verify those 2 things, enter your email, enter your phone number, and now you'll have 3 options available. The patient service center is a local facility. The results form, you'll actually print that out, bring that to your doctor, and then your doctor will complete all of that necessary information and then fax it into Quest. Or you can order an at-home kit, and that's just a finger stick kit that gets delivered to you. You'll stick your finger, apply it to the cards, allow the card to dry, and then send it back. The at-home kit and the physician form, those aren't done in 3 days because of that. The physician form, you're waiting for the doctor's office to fax it in, and the at-home kit, you have that transit, that mail period. But the Blueprint for Wellness screening, you'll receive $100 in your Virgin Pulse account. So make sure that you are enrolled in Virgin Pulse at the time of your screening. That money will arrive approximately 30 days after your screening. And you'll actually see, this goes back to my very first screening, so I can actually go back and look at all these different reports. Any questions about Quest? Okay, and then The first time, or actually to enroll in Virgin Pulse, you need to go through your HealthFlex WebMD account.
Todd, is
Yes.
it popping up a separate screen?
It is.
That separate screen's not sharing. It didn't share with Quest, and nor did it share with Virgin.
Okay. I apologize about that. Let me. Let me go Quest.
Maybe you just have to go up on top. It's opening and giving you a tab up on top, or no?
No, it gave me another tab. I think if I go back to share. There we go. I apologize for that. So now you should see that homepage, or you should see that jumping off point for Quest.
Yes.
When I logged in there a couple of seconds ago, it did have a pop-up window that talked about the screening that you would experience going to Quest. So basically, if you go to a local Quest facility, even before you enter the building, they're going to take your temperature and ask you how you are. Essentially, just a real quick screening to make sure that you're not having symptoms. And then you'll actually be asked if you want to wait in the facility or if you want to wait in the car. If you want to wait outside the facility, they'll actually text you when you should come in. We had a couple participants do some videos, and one of them waited in the car and the other one waited in the facility, and the facility was actually very spread out, and social distancing was definitely in place. With the screening, there's three different options. The patient service center is a local facility. Make sure that you schedule through here, though. If you Google local Quest facility and call them, they will let you make an appointment, and they will let you come in and screen. The problem is you won't be associated with the Wespath program. So they're going to send you an invoice for that screening. And then it's difficult to get the results from, call it the commercial side, into the wellness side. So Quest has a couple different lines of business. One is the physician business, a hospital business. The other one's the wellness visit. Wellness is what's associated with Wespath and HealthFlex. The physician results form is an option for you to go, you register for it, print it out, you bring that to your doctor, and then your doctor needs to fill it out in its entirety, or doctor's assistant, whatever. But your blood pressure, your heart rate, your height, your weight, the date the tests were run, and then that gets faxed back to Quest. The at-home kit is new for us this year, and it involves a finger stick blood test that gets sent home. It gets sent to the address in your account. You do all the little necessary paperwork for it. Doesn't take too long. There's a video, and then there's some instructions on how to stick your finger, draw some blood, and then send those cards back. You'll also need to know what your blood pressure is, your waist circumference, and a couple. They do send it with a tape measure, but they don't send it with a blood pressure cuff though. But a local Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, our local grocery stores have those little DigiHealth things that you can get your blood pressure at. And then typically when you go to a patient service center, you'll get an email about 3 days later that says your results are ready to view. 30 days after your screening, you'll receive $100 in Pulse Cash. Virgin Pulse calls it Pulse Cash. I call it marketing. It's basically money, and you can spend that as you wish, transfer it out of your Virgin Pulse account, or you can buy another device or save it. My wife and I saved up about 2 years worth, and then just bought a new stove this June.
A question came in, Todd.
Sure.
If we completed the screening before enrolling in Virgin Pulse, would we lose that incentive, or is there a way to roll it over?
You won't lose it. If you could do me a favor and enroll as soon as you can, and then I can actually show you I can actually show you at the end where to look to make sure that money is there. If it's not there, we'll definitely get you paid. So we like to use that as leverage, but we're not going to keep anybody from receiving that $100. That's a secret, though. That's among us. Okay. Join Virgin Pulse is where you'd go the first time to log into Virgin Pulse. I would suggest to just go to virginpulse.com and then log in there. There's no reason to, as an active participant, there's no reason to go to okay. Can you see that here? Okay. And then you'd click sign in. Oh. All right, oops, that's sign in. Well, I goofed. There we go. So you'd click this button down here to sign up. Same thing, you'd set up enter your name, your birth date, a couple other pieces of indicative data, and then you're ready to go. I would suggest that you use, also download the app. So go to your respective app store, either Google Play or Apple, download the Virgin Pulse app. It's free, and you could do absolutely everything on the app that you can do on the desktop, with the exception of spend money. Virgin Pulse doesn't want that done on an app. They want that done behind a firewall on a computer. But everything else, earn your points, check your steps for the day, all that can be done there. Okay, so now I'm just going to go back to the regular homepage for, uh-oh. There we go, sorry about that. Whew. Okay, so can everyone see my WebMD account again? Okay. Your action plan are the things that you can do to help. They're going to have suggestions there, and and then you can also customize your account based on what you're interested in, what your stressors are. So you see, for me, it's relaxation, meditation. So create a to-do list, meditate with mindfulness, create a family health chart. We'll also put other things in there like complete HQ, complete blueprint for wellness. So those will probably pop up in the next couple of weeks. The deadline for HQ and the deadline for blueprint for wellness is September 30th.
All of those action plan items, are they linked to Virgin Pulse?
No, they're all listed. They're whatever we'd ask them to add. So like the episodic, like complete blueprint for wellness or complete BFW, those would be added. But the other items are associated with your responses from HQ, other kind of input that you provide. They would then stack that action plan based on that. So unfortunately at this point, you might see get more physically active in your HealthFlex WebMD account, but that wasn't triggered because you hadn't uploaded your Virgin Pulse pedometer in a while. Those are still separate. Our goal is to get everything together so that everything, including financial, is in one place. So this is the hub or the home base for everything HealthFlex. I went on a little bit about Quest, Virgin Pulse. If you click My HealthFlex Benefits, I'll make this a little bit bigger, you will be able to see everything that you have access to as part of HealthFlex WebMD. So Susquehanna has Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. All these links that have an asterisk next to them or at the end are single sign-on. And that means that you don't need to enter an additional password. So when I click my medical behavioral, Blue Cross Blue Shield, it should look very similar to yours. There we go. And then this will show coverages, claim center, your health. The big ticket items is your claim activity here. So everybody in the family just went for their annual wellness visit. My daughter, my son, and both of my sons. If you wanted to, you'd click on that and you can go take a look at your explanation of benefits or an EOB. Your EOB can be either delivered electronically or it can be delivered by US mail. Your coverage, it will just show the plan that you have, medical, prescription drugs. And then who's covered. Claim Center will just be an expansion of that first screen that I showed you. So it shows what was billed, shows what you may owe. And then you're able to search claims by a date range that you choose. It typically comes up for the calendar year, for the year that you're in, but you can search prior years. Doctors, hospitals, here you should be able to find a provider or a hospital. And there's also a feature that will allow you to so if you have to go for an MRI, it should help you find MRI facilities in the area that will give you a price range, so you'll have an idea of what that's going to cost before you go. And that should be under doctors or health, doctors or my health. Let me see, find a doctor. Yeah, that's not popping up. So lots of information under Blue Cross Blue Shield. Prescription drugs, Optum RX is the pharmacy provider. The asterisk means that that's single sign-on. You'll click on that and you'll go right into your account. Dental, vision, these both will require an additional password and login, password and login ID. Telemedicine is really cool. It's through MD Live. You'll notice that my kids each went to the doctor, the physical doctor, and then there was a charge on my Blue Cross Blue Shield account for $40. I actually called MD Live. So that was back mid-February. I wasn't feeling well. MD Live is terrific. I'm on the high deductible insurance plan, so I know if I go see my doc, to go see her, it'll be about $130, $140. That's the full discounted amount. I have to pay that out of pocket because I'm in the high deductible plan. I do have an HSA that I'm saving for those types of expenses. But for me, I typically call it MD Live. It's $40 instead of $140. And I was able to chat with an MD. I chatted with him early on a Saturday morning, and I was able to get my script by midday on Saturday. So that was great. So MD Live is something that you need to register for in advance. That would be ideal. That way you don't have to spend that extra time doing that. And you can actually just call them and schedule, or it's call them and register. And then the well-being program, actually, let me do this. So that the health account information, That includes all the different health accounts that you may have. So the HSA is associated with the high deductible plan. The HRA is associated with the CDHP, the Consumer Driven Health Plan. An FSA, I'm not sure, Jason, does everyone have access to set up an FSA in Susquehanna? Okay.
Yes.
An FSA is another, so the FSA is something that you put in every month, but you have to use it by the end of the year. The HRA and the HSA can roll over to the following year. And I no longer have to have a dependent account, and this would pay for daycare and such. And that's kind of disappointing. My youngest went to his first day of high school on Monday, and I'm like, where'd the time go? And then down below is another link to Quest Blueprint for Wellness. This will take you to the same spot as the link in the gray bar. Counseling Support EAP, you'll notice that there isn't an asterisk here. So when you click on that, you'll go to Optum Live and Work Well. Did I share that right? So here you'll need to set up, you'll need to register. You'll just set up an account. And it has a tremendous amount of resources, including having a telephone conversation, and then EAP services include 8 telephonic visits with a provider, or 8 in person. So you can have in person if it's more convenient, or telephonic. Optum just rolled out telephonic about 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, and it's gaining a lot of traction. The really, really cool thing is we know clergy have a 24/7 lifestyle. The demands are pretty unique in that. So to be able to set aside an hour a day in order to, or even an hour and a half or 2 hours a day, including the commute to drive to and then from an EAP appointment, that might be too difficult to do. With the virtual visit, you can actually set up an appointment. It's at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, whenever it's convenient for you. The really cool thing about the virtual is if you go in and search, you'll actually see that there are counselors across the country that will be able to meet with you, even though they don't, via phone, even though they don't live in your area, even though they don't live in Pennsylvania. You might have a counselor that's available at 10 o'clock your time who's actually in Hawaii or Southern California or Pacific Northwest or Alaska. So it's really broadened the ability for our folks to talk to folks and get help. So, and that's 8 visits at no cost to you per incident or per concern per year. So a very robust program. Let me come back to the home page. Let's see, that's EAP. Diabetes prevention program, there's actually 2 options. Because diabetes and prediabetes is so prevalent, we actually have and it's either our leading cost driver in HealthFlex or it's number 2. I can't remember. I think it's number 1, and then musculoskeletal is the number 2 leading cost driver. So Omada is an online diabetes prevention program that there's no cost to you to join that. If there's basically 16 sessions over 6 months or so, and that's the curriculum that was created by the Diabetes Prevention Program. It was actually a research study back in the late 90s, very successful, and it involves physical activity and weight loss and eating healthier with the ultimate goal of losing about 5% of your body weight. It was wildly successful, and now it's being offered by a number of different providers. Another option would be to go to a community-based diabetes prevention program, and that's the same curriculum that you'd get at Omada, except it would be in a physical location. You'd actually be in that room with the other participants in that particular session. It's typically offered by medical, like hospital organizations, doctors organizations, Aetna, not Blue Cross Blue Shield, but hospital-based programs. And actually the YMCA has that available too. For that program, you'd actually have to pay out of pocket, but Wespath or HealthFlex would cover up to, I believe, $500 of the cost of that. So it would more than cover the cost of that program. And then a little redundancy here, retirement account, so you can get back to benefits access, you can get back to EY, and then here's the enroll link for Virgin Pulse. And then I always argue with our web folks to say we don't need that here because they're logging in twice. We can't prevent, we can't, to me that's a barrier. If I went there, that would, and I click that and then I had to log in, I'd be like, oh no. So for those who are enrolled already in Virgin Pulse, I would suggest logging and just, Google virginpulse.com, go to the login screen, and then save that in your favorites. Because then all you have to do is, and actually that's what I've done here. At the top of the screen, it'll say Virgin Pulse. And you'll go right there. Weight Watchers is also available. With COVID, they're all online now, but you do have an option of doing online or community-based once we get past where we're in the COVID. So I just saved virginpulse.com, and then you'll see where it says login up here. I just saved that as one of my favorites in my favorites bar, and then you're able to click there. Let's see. Weight Watchers. That's being a little pokey. So every day in Virgin Pulse, they will tee up 2 daily cards for you. And are you able to see? Make it bigger, Frank? Okay. Is that better? Okay. I hear a lot of, well, occasionally I hear from participants, why when I log in, do I get like a little tile, a little card that pops up? For Virgin, that's a celebration. And to some people, they like collecting. So it's basically saying that yesterday I logged 7,000 steps. And this is just a little tile. It's a trophy. It's a reward. It's to acknowledge that you did something. You can always just click it to minimize it. And then each day you'll have 2 cards that are teed up. They're called daily cards. And you can only complete cards for the day that you're in. You can't go back yesterday and complete cards. One of the things that I'm trying to work on is reduce stress. So you would basically read through, you'll see the title of the card here, and then the category is reducing stress. Whoops, reducing stress. So you read through the card, click got it. You see the check mark. I just earned 20 points. Managing finances, sleepy spending. You'd read through it, click got it. Now I just earned 40 points. Then the next thing it will say is, and this is on the web, web-based. The app-based, these are all in succession. You'll open up your app in the morning, it'll come up, you'll see that you've got cards teed up, you'll see that you can do your healthy habits. So then you just click healthy habits, and going to the gym tonight. Does a little bit of a celebration, says you've got 25 days of workout time, it's still going strong. Thank you. Going with my boys. and click the mode. So you can customize your healthy habits. The first 3 healthy habits that you track each day, you'll earn 10 points apiece for a total of 30. So you could actually earn 70 points without leaving, without getting out of bed. 70 points times 90 days. That's, I'm not a math major, but I think that's 5,400. Is it? What is it?
6,300.
Oh, even better. See, that was a test. That was a test. So where would 6,300 bring me? So level 1, you'll get $5 when you hit, I'm starting to blush now because I have to say I presented that. I did a presentation about 6 weeks ago, and I proclaimed that, and nobody in the audience corrected me. Oops. Anyway, so level 1, you get $5 when you earn 1,000 points. Level 2, when you reach 5,000 points, that's level 2, you get $15. So at this point, you've earned $20 already. So that would put you about here. So you're well past level 2, on your way to level 3. When you hit level 3, you get another $10. When you hit level 4, you get another $10 for a total of $40 per quarter. How are we doing on time, Jason?
We're pretty close, like we're at our limit.
Okay. With benefits access, please set up an account if you haven't done so already. Please log in if you haven't logged in recently. Check your quarterly statements. That would be awesome. Look for more webinars that we'll be doing in the future. Frank did one yesterday on financial well-being, Financial 101. There's more of those that are coming out. And then Virgin Pulse is a great way to earn some cash, save some money, and get physically active.
Okay.
Okay.
Wespath has a ton of great resources, both online on the websites, but also you're going to get all sorts of communications through email, through your postal service. Do check those out. This video and the slide deck and everything will be sent out to everybody who was on the call so that you have those resources if you need them. I'm here as well. Feel free to call the conference office. You all have my cell phone. Whatever you need, we are glad to resource you and help you out. And hopefully we'll see you in a challenge sometime with your step counter. And
yeah.
So to Frank and Todd, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the information.
My pleasure.
We very, very much appreciate it. Any last minute questions from anybody? I haven't seen any posted in the chat, so you guys must have just been amazing.
Well, there might be one here. It's thank you. You are welcome.
Thank you.
So, well, that concludes our time today, everybody. Thank you so much for logging in. Take care, and we will see you again soon.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Be
Enjoy
safe,
the
be well.
birthday dinner.